Good morning. Good morning. We are here. Put my school book away. We made it. We have trial already. I'm sorry we're starting in late, but I'm going to catch up to where they are. But I thank you so much for joining. We have the finally Adelson trial. We have been waiting for this. This is day one. Thank you for joining. Let's get into court. Sorry about that. We're waiting for the court. I did not know that they had already started. So I guess they have already placed their jury. I'm guessing. I'm literally walking into this.
Yes, Your Honor. May it please the court, just for your awareness, with and early.
Let me get back to where. There we go. And we're off. Good morning. Good morning. Haven't even had my coffee. Good morning, Miss Morales. So did they seat the jury? Catch me up, Miss Morales. Usually the jury selection is not live. So I thought we had time.
We're early.
Catch me up. Please. Meds.
Let's pick back up where we were earlier. I believe Ms. Adelson was consulting with independent counsel on that matter. Has she had sufficient time to do so?
Judge, I think I'll let independent counsel, Mr. Commissar, speak to that.
Mr. Commissar? Yes, Your Honor. May it please the court, just for your awareness, I've been involved in this since yesterday. She has had a chance.
Welcome.
She has had a chance to speak with me. She's in a position where she would not like to lose Mr. Rashbaum. She's willing to make any waivers that are necessary. She's not seeking a continuance, and she's fine with
what happened?
Currently unprepared counsel conducting the cross-examination of Mr. Adelson should he be called.
What happened? What happened?
Let's go ahead and finish the colloquy that we started earlier concerning the waivers.
Yeah.
Ms. Adelson, if you can stand once again, you have already been sworn. Now that you've had the opportunity to discuss with Mr. Commissar the issues that are related to the conflict of Mr. Rashbaum and also any issues as it would relate to proceeding forward under these circumstances, are you in fact waiving any conflicts regarding Mr. Rashbaum? Do you also waive any issue on a future appeal regarding the issue of your son's cross-examination as it pertains both to the preparation of any counsel who would perform that cross-examination or the fact that it may not be adequate representation? You may be seated. Does the state have anything to raise concerning this matter at this point?
Just that the state is in agreement with proceeding as outlined by defense counsel. In the limited research I was able to do on the issue, it seems like a lot of the times when it goes the other way and the court in its discretion decides to boot the counsel of record for conflict, the state is seeking that. So I just want to put on the record that we are not seeking for your honor to do that in this situation.
To dismiss Mr. Rashbaum.
Correct.
Very well. I'm going to perform my additional research before we continue this afternoon concerning whether or not this waiver is sufficient. The defendant has made it. She has made it voluntarily. At the same time, whether it is sufficient to survive any review, that is really where my mindset is at this point. Unless any other party has something to raise, we'll be in recess and get started again at 1:30.
Judge, as Ms. Niles been speaking with her during the break, is she and Mr. Upperman are meeting with Mr. Adelson because the question has arisen as to whether or not there's a conflict as it relates to cross-examination, or if Mr. Adelson were to have a continued objection to his representation, continued representation of Ms. Adelson. I think that there's some thought that that needs to be confirmed from Mr. Adelson first, because if he takes a different position, it would seemingly disqualify Mr. Rashbaum altogether. That's going to be accomplished. I wanted to let the court know that that's in the works.
Good.
Also, as it relates to the waiver, so the court was aware, and there's mention of it in the comments section of the rules regulating the profession, that an oral waiver is acceptable and appropriate with certain conditions that are set forth in the rule.
Is the attorney who obtained the waiver available to speak on this matter?
I don't know the answer off the top of my head, but I'm pretty certain, I say within 99% certainty, we'll facilitate it.
Go ahead.
Does Your Honor need, that's why I'm mentioning this. Should I, excuse me, Judge.
Signature was obtained by me, and then the independent waiver did not get a signature, but you could testify as an independent waiver.
Does Your Honor feel like you need to hear from?
So we have a fully developed record? Yes.
Okay, let me make arrangements during the break, and I'll alert chambers as to how quickly we can do that, so we don't waste time this afternoon if possible.
Please do.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to have the afternoon jurors report at 2 o'clock, so that way no one's time is wasted while we're going through these matters. Mr. Commissar, you had something else to add?
Yes, Your Honor. Just as we're talking about perfecting a record, I just wanted to note that as the independent counsel, I was given an opportunity by the court to meet with her independently. The bailiffs gave us some privacy here. I was able to meet with her for easily 30 minutes. And I'm not revealing any of our confidences, but this was not a squishy situation. Once I was able to articulate the options and how they can result in delay or the opportunity to prepare, this, I can say, was a strategy decision that is being made by a defendant who does not want to delay their case, but understands that the representation they're going to get from my cross-examination is not what they might get from another lawyer, or definitely not what they're going to get from me with a year of preparation. So it may look odd in a cold record having a lawyer come in this morning and advise somebody to waive such an important right. I was able to articulate the options, but I did not necessarily advise somebody to waive their rights.
Very well. Mr. Morris, do you wish the court to engage in any further colloquy with Ms. Adelson concerning this matter?
Not at this point, Judge.
Very well. Ms. Adelson, I do not want you to respond, but I want you to understand, although you have made an affirmative waiver on these matters, I still have to evaluate whether that waiver is sufficient or whether Mr. Rauschbaum needs to be terminated from this matter. I'm going to give this serious consideration. I will do additional research of my own from there. Everyone will have an answer this afternoon. We are in recess until 1:15. Please come back to the courtroom at that time.
Judge, would you be open to both sides submitting case law for your consideration during the recess?
Certainly. I'll go down and release them myself. Yep.
We are going to catch up to the events of today, because I didn't know. It was my humble opinion. That's what I get. It was my humble opinion. That's what I get. Oh, so they said they would start 2 o'clock. No, 1 o'clock for the other. 1 o'clock. I'm trying to get the interpreter so she and I can bounce it back and forth. What side is this showing? That's showing. And that. Okay. When I interpret, I need to close it. I may have to just call Miss Diane on her regular phone because she's not been answering the other phone. So I will call her and we'll see if she picks up. I'll mute you. Sorry, she's working. Yay! She's working. What we're going to do is we're going to skip back to the beginning. Where did all my feeds go? Really? That'd be weird. So everybody's taking a break. Yay. But we are going to watch this morning's activity because apparently I missed it. I did not anticipate the Donna Adelson trial to go this way. So they are leaving their mics on. I'll be honest. It's a little chaotic over there. But we're going to go back and we're going to watch what happened this morning. So we're all caught up. I do have a video I was going to share as a filler. So we'll watch that. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Really? I just pulled it out of a braid. I slept with it in a braid last night and I haven't even brushed it. Yep. So let me. Boy, they have those mics hot. So while we're doing this, Miss Morales, let me know how my sound balance is. Thank you. My hearing aid levels does not equally represent what you're hearing. You couldn't listen if it did.
Yeah, I worked on that later.
Excuse me. I am still trying to wake up, y'all. I don't know why the last 4 days I've woken up with a migraine at 3, 4 in the morning. And then it's duller now, but I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, I'll do that, turn it back on.
I'm going to mute that static. I can't handle it. Sorry, guys. Not sorry. I don't mean to be rude, but that's pretty obnoxious. See? That's obnoxious. So I'm trying to create my little banner thing that I've been making for these cases. So I haven't even had time to do that. Again, how is my sound, Miss Morales?
For the record, Laurel Niles, on behalf of state witness Charlie Adelson.
All other counsel of record can make their appearances at this point.
Georgia Cattleman for the state.
Alex Morris on behalf of Mrs. Adelson.
Dan Markel on behalf of Mrs. Adelson, present.
So how was everyone's evening last night?
Got a lot of sleep, Your Honor. How about you?
Slept like a baby. Let's start with the notice of invoking rights and non-waiver of conflict of interest by Mr. Adelson. Do you have anything to argue beyond what's in the pleading?
Your Honor, I'm not here to advocate for a position for the court to do something in this case. The only thing I intended to do with my filing is to invoke Mr. Adelson's rights, to put the parties in the court on notice that he does intend to invoke his rights.
Right. Ms. Kappelman, does the state have a position that it wishes to raise concerning the notice or the filing?
My only position, Judge, is that this issue has been waived. Your Honor did an inquiry, which was thorough, covered the issue, and
As to Mrs. Adelson,
yes, sir.
concerning Charlie Adelson, I believe, well, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but the only way Mr. Rashbaum's representation could occur is if both ends of the conflict were waiving. I don't believe Mr. Adelson ever took an affirmative position one way or another.
My understanding was he did, but I guess that position is changing, so I don't know. I have to defer to Your Honor on that.
Does the state intend to call Charles Adelson as a part of its case in chief?
No, he would be a rebuttal witness at this point. Now, that could also change too, but as of this moment, he is a rebuttal witness.
Ms. Niles, is there a reason that your client waited until yesterday to assert his invocation of this right and non-waiver?
Your Honor, I think the critical question is when the conflict arose. So,
Oh, the conflict has been there. The
Yeah,
conflict is clear.
I
on
would
its face.
say it has.
It's clear as my nose. Is
Yep.
there a reason your client did not assert this until yesterday?
Your Honor, my understanding is that my client has not waived at any point. And so asserting it yesterday was merely putting the parties on notice of that non-waiver. I mean, the fact that he's listed in discovery as a Category A witness does not mean that the state was going to call him as a witness at trial. I think the conflict arose when my office received a subpoena for his trial testimony, which was last week on September 11th, and then he was transported to the jail on September 13th. Mr. Efferman was able to meet with him at 8 o'clock in the morning on Saturday the 14th. And then at that point, without revealing any confidential communications with our client, we became aware that all the parties needed to be on notice that there was no waiver and that he does intend to invoke his rights. And so our notice was filed the next business day, Monday morning. It was later in the morning, but we were trying to get it done. We were a non-party, so we were having some trouble figuring out how to get it filed, but we drafted it and alerted the parties and the court as soon as we knew that this was an imminent issue, that his rights were imminently potentially going to be violated. Now, I don't think, excuse me, I don't believe that it would be violated until he takes the witness stand. And at that point, either his former counsel attempts to cross-examine him, or another member of the defense team attempts to cross-examine him, or they advance an interest that is materially adverse to his interest. So I think the potential for conflict was always there, but the conflict arose. It's going to arise on the witness stand. It has not quite yet arisen, but the potential for conflict.
It's simmering, not boiling.
Yes, Your Honor, it's burgeoning.
Mr. Morris.
Yes, sir. Judge, when I came into the case, at the inception of the case, obviously I was aware of the fact that Mr. Rashbaum had represented Mr. Adelson. I was aware of the conflict, whether it's arisen or not. My view of it is that it's always been there and been present. As a result of that, I have been walled off from everything as it relates to any discovery from that prior case, any notes. I've not had any conversations with Mr. Rashbaum about Mr. Adelson's evidence or property. The first instance that I met Mr. Adelson was this past weekend on Saturday with Mr. Efferman. In fact, Mr. Adelson queried whether or not I had seen his phone. I said no. But we planned for this exact circumstance. And the idea was that I was going to conduct any cross-examination if Mr. Adelson were to testify. Mr. Efferman's motion argues to impute the conflict absent a showing, a good faith showing of an ethical wall. I think that we've done that, but of course, as I mentioned in my response, we plan in the alternative if we're forced in that direction of securing alternate counsel.
When was the third-party counsel retained?
Candidly, there's been no retention in terms of money from Mrs. Adelson to that lawyer. That's prepared to happen. We wanted to see Your Honor's ruling. But the answer is I spoke with the attorney yesterday to confirm, just as I mentioned in the response, availability and absence of conflict for that lawyer.
All right. I've gone through, I believe, at least 2 Lazarlet inquiries with your client, specifically as to this conflict that exists between his former client, Mr. Adelson, and his current client, Mrs. Adelson. Is there a reason the defense did not bring before the court that you were pursuing third-party counsel, or there was, in fact, no waiver from Charles Adelson?
Let me back up and provide the court some information then. So there was, in fact, a waiver with Mr. Rashbaum. Mr. Rashbaum consulted.
Verbal or written?
Both. There was a third-party lawyer, Mr. Moses, who was hired as third-party counsel out of South Florida to consult with Mr. Adelson independently outside of Mr. Rashbaum's presence. And as it relates to the waiver, my understanding is that the waiver was agreed to. I believe it's going to be verbal, Judge, in the sense of not in writing. The written portion of it is the lawyer who consulted with Mr. Adelson. That was because of security issues, is the way that that was dealt with. It was post-conviction. The Department of Corrections housed Mr. Adelson closely managed, and as a result, there was an inability to get to him in a face-to-face conversation. So the waiver issue did occur, and then retention of third-party counsel, we had never believed it to be an issue because of the game plan as it relates to me handling cross-examination and being walled off. And not until the issue that Mr. Ufferman raised did we make that move.
Let's assume for a moment that I find the walling off has been sufficient. Why should Mr. Rashbaum's representation not be terminated at this point?
The motion that Mr. Ufferman has filed is a conflict as it relates to cross-examination. Mr. Adelson, as I understand it, his objection is not to Mr. Rashbaum's continued representation of Ms. Adelson.
Well, your client has a right to effective representation at every single critical stage. I'm also not going to allow any issues basically to get backdoored should there need to be an appeal.
Never came to my mind.
Is there any dispute that Mr. Rashbaum does not meet the elements of Colker?
I don't believe so, Judge, no.
A substantially related representation and a client that is now asserting a non-waiver of a conflict?
Well, also from a practical perspective, this is, as the court mentioned, this has been a known circumstance from the inception. And
it has.
But I think that that cuts both ways in the sense that, and I don't quarrel with the general concept that these circumstances ought to be avoided, and it doesn't create these circumstances. Beyond that, though, there's not been an assertion of this, and of course, Mr. Adelson's entitled to change his mind whenever he wants. He can change his mind 3 hours from now, I suppose.
I will take Mrs. Dial's presence as proof he's changed his mind.
Yes, sir, understood. But I don't think that my understanding from Mr. Ufferman in discussion was that the conflict was strictly limited to Mr. Adelson not wanting Mr. Rashbaum, or potentially by extension myself, to cross-examine. And that was the limit of the conflict, is my understanding.
Your
Ms.
Honor.
Niles, do you need to clarify anything?
I do need to clarify that, Your Honor. Our first filing yesterday, the notice, did frame the issue in terms of concern about potential sharing of information on the defense team, right? Mr. Adelson was not waiving his privileged communications with Mr. Rashbaum. But after we read the response from counsel, I think it became clear, based on our reading of the rules regulating the Florida bar, that it would not be enough to bring in a third party, or it would not be enough to have a walled-up attorney conduct the cross-examination. And that's because I read Rule 4-9, 1.9A to control on that issue. So Rule 1.9B says you can't use information gleaned from the representation to the disadvantage of a former client, but A says you cannot advance an interest that is materially adverse to a former client in the same or substantially related matter. So whether we have another attorney come in and do that cross-examination, and I absolutely trust Mr. Morris, and I'm not challenging his veracity when he says he was walled off from this issue, but I don't think it solves the problem, because whether we have another lawyer actually conduct the cross-examination doesn't solve the issue of A under that rule. In the case cited in Mr. Adelson's notice called Kolker that Your Honor just referenced, also addresses this exact issue and says having a third party conduct the cross doesn't resolve the conflict because it's the
Hello, Miss
relationship
Ronnie.
that
Sorry,
forms
guys.
the
I've
basis
been
of the
working on
conflict, not
something.
the information. So
Hey,
it's our
Miss
position
Karina.
that,
Good morning, everybody.
Mr. Rashbaum cannot advance an interest against Mr. Adelson.
Oh, thank you.
Because Mr. Adelson is now going to be a witness for the state
Hello,
of
Toxic.
Florida,
Thanks for popping in.
that is a problem under the rules regulating the Florida bar and Florida case law.
Well, does any party have anything further they wish to add to this matter?
Brief response, Judge. Of course.
What do y'all think about
Adelson
that? See
has,
the handcuffs hanging off the plane?
Right.
That's
The
what I was
counsel
working
is a
on.
choice. I recognize that
It
there are
is not
restrictions.
absolute.
Understood. I recognize that there are restrictions, but in the circumstance that's before us, then Mr. Adelson may not testify in this case. And that's a little bit of the frustrating part, is that this can be utilized as a tactic in some respects.
It doesn't mean he still can't lob a hand grenade in the direction of the trial.
Sure.
That's true.
Understood. The frustrating part, I guess.
Thanks for the
is
mod,
that
love.
The defense doesn't intend to call him. The state's acknowledged that it would be in rebuttal if they were to call him. And I can't fathom why there would be a lot of direct or cross-examination, but.
If this witness cannot be properly cross-examined, your client has lost the right to effective representation. And therefore, we have an issue relating to whether or not a new trial is merited. At the outset, it is foolish to charge forward under the circumstances. I can examine your client if she is willing to waive the issue of the conflict and also waive the issue on appeal. That still does not per se resolve the matter. Do you wish for me to examine your client?
May I have just a moment, Judge?
Go ahead.
Wow, this is an interesting twist.
Judge, yes, if the court wishes to inquire.
Please raise your right hand, Ms. Adelson. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you will give today will be the truth? You can lower your hand. believe we've done this twice before, but
Her
given the
Botox is worn
circumstance and
off.
what has now arisen, it is prudent to do it once again. Do you understand that you have the right to conflict-free counsel? Meaning specifically as it relates to Mr. Rauschbaum or any other conflict that may be imputed to Mr. Morris or any other third party. Do you understand that your attorney has to be able to properly cross-examine your son if he is called as a witness? Do you understand how this conflict affects the cross-examination potentially or your overall defense strategy? Have you been able to speak with a conflict-free attorney in making the decision as to whether you wish to waive any conflict on this matter?
Nope. She's looking at him like, oh,
The
snap.
short answer is going to be no,
Hello.
beyond having spoken with me.
Yes. How's
at
the
inception of
bubby? Bubby.
my
How's the bubby
representation.
toxic?
Would you like to speak with conflict-free counsel concerning this issue?
Yes.
Very well. Before we finish the colloquy on this matter, then, we will go into recess. The defendant will have an opportunity to consult with conflict-free counsel. We'll resume this afternoon. I will finish the colloquy this afternoon. Any jurors that have been summoned this morning will be released for now. And if there is to be a selection, we will get started again at 1:15. Before we finish for this morning, Ms. Dugan, Ms. Keppelman, did you have anything else that you wish to raise or argue?
Nothing else, Your Honor.
Very well.
Your Honor, may I be excused for this afternoon, or would you like me to come back?
If there's anything else that you need to raise on behalf of your client,
No, Your Honor, there's not.
very well, you are excused. Please report back at 1:15. Whoever the conflict-free counsel is that Ms. Adelson will consult with, if either she has someone in mind or the attorneys are going to assist her with this, please move quickly so she has an opportunity to speak with someone, and we'll move forward from there.
Could Ms. Keppelman and I come sidebar briefly?
Please approach.
Oh, I'm so glad the bottles worked. Yay. They are really good bottles. They used to be one of the most expensive bottles on the market. Remember when TG&Y had the baby section? The bottles were probably, oh gosh, I don't know. A set of 4 was like $30. They were outrageous back in my time. That was 24 years ago. But they have remained great bottles. You can now get them at Walmart. Back then, you had to get them at TG&Y. I'm sorry, not TG&Y. What was the store that had the giraffe? What was the store that had your giraffe? Toys R Us. That's it. Toys R Us, baby section. That's the only place I could find them. TG&Y. That's dating me even further back, y'all. Anybody remember TG&Y? You are ancient. Toys R Us. I'm a Toys R Us kid. Yeah, my kids were Toys R Us kids. I got all their bottles there. They had a great baby registry. Awesome baby clothes section. I was heartbroken when they went out of business. Yes, sirree. Oh, it was fabulous. So, any opinions on this banner? I was trying to figure out what I could do to represent her case. She was trying to flee, and then they handcuffed her. I didn't know what else to do. If you got any ideas, give them to me. My brain is functioning on half a cell right about now. Half a cell right about now. Excuse the yawn. I left my, there's my watch. I take my watch off if I interpret because it's hard to interpret with the watch on. Oh, Snap. Okay, so how long is this gonna go? Okay. Okay, so now we're gonna come back. And here's the reaction. And here's what happened after that.
Consulting with independent counsel on that matter. Has she had sufficient time to do so?
Judge, I think I'll let independent counsel, Mr. Commissar, speak to that.
Mr. Commissar?
Yes, Your Honor. May it please the court, just for your awareness, I've been involved in this since yesterday. She has had a chance.
Welcome.
She has had a chance to speak. with
Poor
me.
guy.
She's in a position where she would not like to lose Mr. Rashbaum. She's willing to make any waivers that are necessary. She's not seeking a continuance.
That
and
is
she's fine
unusual.
with currently unprepared counsel conducting the cross-examination of Mr. Adelson should he be called.
Well, let's go ahead and finish the colloquy that we started earlier concerning the waivers. Ms. Adelson, if you can stand once again, you have already been sworn. Now that you've had the opportunity to discuss with Mr. Commissar the issues that are related to the conflict of Mr. Rashbaum and also any issues as it would relate to proceeding forward under these circumstances, are you in fact waiving any conflicts regarding Mr. Rashbaum?
Yes,
Do you also waive any issue on a future appeal regarding the issue of your son's cross-examination as it pertains both to the preparation of any counsel who would perform that cross-examination or the fact that it may not be adequate representation? You may be seated. Does the state have anything to raise concerning this matter at this point?
Just that the state is in agreement with proceeding as outlined by defense counsel. In the limited research I was able to do on the issue, it seems like a lot of the times when it goes the other way and the court in its discretion decides to boot the counsel of record for conflict, the state is seeking that. So I just want to put on the record that we are not seeking for your honor to do that in this situation.
To dismiss Mr. Rashbaum.
Correct.
Very well. I'm going to perform my additional research before we continue this afternoon concerning whether or not this waiver is sufficient. The defendant has made it. She has made it voluntarily. At the same time, whether it is sufficient to survive any review, that is really where my mindset is at this point. Unless any other party has something to raise, we'll be in recess and get started again at 1:30.
Judge, as Ms. Niles, in speaking with her during the break, is she and Mr. Upperman are meeting with Mr. Adelson because the question has arisen as to whether or not there's a conflict as it relates to cross-examination, or if Mr. Adelson were to have a continued objection to his representation, continued representation of Ms. Adelson. I think that there's some thought that that needs to be confirmed from Mr. Adelson first, because if he takes a different position, it would seemingly disqualify Mr. Rashbaum altogether. That's going to be accomplished. I wanted to let the court know that that's in the works.
Good.
Also, as it relates to the waiver, so the court was aware, and there's mention of it in the comment section of the rules regulating the profession, that an oral waiver is acceptable and appropriate with certain conditions that are set forth in the rule.
Is the attorney who obtained the waiver available to speak on this matter?
I don't know the answer off the top of my head, but I'm pretty certain, I say within 99% certainty, we'll facilitate it.
Go ahead.
Does Your Honor need, that's why I'm mentioning this, should I, excuse me, Judge.
Procedure was obtained by me, and then the independent waiver did not get a signature, but you could testify as an independent waiver.
Does Your Honor feel like you need to hear from him?
So we have a fully developed record, yes.
Okay, let me make arrangements during the break, and I'll alert chambers as to how quickly we can do that, so we don't waste time this afternoon if possible.
Please do.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to have the afternoon jurors report at 2:00, so that way no one's time is wasted while we're going through these matters. Mr. Commissar, you had something else to add?
Yes, Your Honor, just as we're talking about perfecting a record, I just wanted to note that as the independent counsel, I was given an opportunity by the court to meet with her independently. The bailiffs gave us some privacy here. I was able to meet with her for easily 30 minutes. And I'm not revealing any of our confidences, but this was not a squishy situation. Once I was able to articulate the options and how they can result in delay or the opportunity to prepare, this, I can say, was a strategy decision that is being made by a defendant who does not want to delay their case, but understands that the representation they're going to get from my cross-examination is not what they might get from another lawyer, or definitely not what they're going to get from me with a year of preparation. So it may look odd in a cold record having a lawyer come in this morning and advise somebody to waive such an important right. I was able to articulate the options, but I did not necessarily advise somebody to waive their rights.
Very well. Mr. Morris, do you wish the court to engage in any further colloquy with Ms. Adelson concerning this matter?
Not at this point, Judge.
Very well. Ms. Adelson, I do not want you to respond, but I want you to understand, although you have made an affirmative waiver on these matters, I still have to evaluate whether that waiver is sufficient or whether Mr. Rauschbaum needs to be terminated from this matter. I'm going to give this serious consideration. I will do additional research of my own from there. Everyone will have an answer this afternoon. We are in recess until 1:15. Please come back to the courtroom at that time.
Judge, would you be open to both sides submitting case law for your consideration during the recess?
Certainly. I'll go down and release them myself. Yep.
Okay, so that's where we are. I think I like that better. So that's where we are. We will be viewing. Let me get this back up and running. Oh, let me do this real quick. We will be viewing the United States District Court of New York against Sean Combs, aka Puff Daddy, P Diddy, Diddy, and Love. Gosh almighty, his name runs on forever. And we will be reviewing that. I'm going to delete this and add another one. I've made a little change to it. I think I like it better. Let's see what you think. Yeah, you can see the handcuff a little better. So 1:00 their time is 12:00 our time. So that's 2 hours. Okay, I'm going to go over the P. Diddy indictment, if y'all are cool with that. I'm going to put this down on the taskbar so I don't have that up and going. I'm going to move this over here. I have to make some arrangements. I'm sorry, because I don't like reading to the side. I rather glance at comments on the side than read to the side. Okay. So we are shifting over real quick to Sean Combs, aka Puff Daddy, P. Diddy, PD, and Love. Oh my gosh, he has a lot of AKs. I'm sure there's more. So if y'all don't know, he was arrested. I'm not sure I'm going to cover this case. I will be glad to cover this, but I'm not sure I can cover this case. We'll see how everything falls into place. So, overview. Grand jury charges. Excuse me. Overview. For decades, Sean Combs, aka Puff Daddy, P. Diddy, PD, and AK Love. The defendant abused, threatened, coerced women and others around him to fulfill his intimate desires. We're going to be replacing that word. Protect his reputation and conceal his conduct. To do so, Combs relied on employee resources. Do you know what? I ought to share this, shouldn't I? Yeah, I thought so. I ought to share this. My bad, y'all. My bad. Let me go to the full page. Uh-oh, that's not what I wanted to do. Escape. That is not what I want to do. Let me get it this way. There we go. I think that helps you guys a little better. Okay. To do so, Combs relied on employees, resources, and influence of multiple facets business empires that he led and controlled, creating criminal enterprise whose members and associates engaged in and attempted to engage in, among other crimes, intimate movement of persons without permission. Y'all can read this right there. Forced labor, holding someone against their will, arson, bribery, and obstruction of justice. There's certain words I cannot say. So if you're reading this, you get where we're going. Sean Combs, I'm not going to keep doing it. We're going to just use his first name. The defendant operated his business headquartered at various times in Manhattan and Los Angeles under a variety of United States-based corporation entities, including Bad Boy Entertainment, Combs Enterprises, Combs Global, collectively Combs Businesses. Corporate entities of Combs Businesses, including, among other things, record labels, recording studios, an apparel line, alcoholic spirit business, marketing agency, television network, and media company. Boy, he's a busy man. At all times relevant to this indictment, Sean Combs, the defendant, engaged in a persistent, perverse pattern of abuse towards women and other individuals. The abuse at times was verbal, emotional, physical, and intimate. The part of the pattern of abuse, Combs manipulated women in participating in highly orchestrated performances of intimate activity with male commercial intimate workers. At times, Combs and others acting at his direction made arrangements for women and commercial intimate workers to fly to Combs' location. Combs ensured participation from the women by, amongst other things, obtaining and distributing narcotics to them, controlling their careers, leveraging his financial support, and threatened to cut off the same, and using intimidation and violence. The jury, the jury selection is complete. I believe the jurors are going to come back at 2 Eastern time. I'm not 100% sure on that, though. Okay. We had to have basically a type of hearing. I guess it's colloquy. Because Donna Adelson's, one of her attorneys, is the same attorney that represented her son. The judge was trying to ensure that she understood the rights that she was giving up for appeal in that area should things don't go well for her. A separate attorney, non-connected to this case, came in, explained her rights to her and everything, and it is a part of the defense strategy. So she is still accepting the same attorney that represented her son. If her son should appear, said attorney may be questioning and cross-examining questioning and redirecting her son. So we'll see what happens. The judge has not made his final decision. This could delay trial. So this is pretty important. Physical abuse by Sean Combs, aka Puff Daddy, aka P. Diddy. The defendant was recurrent and widely known, a numerous occasions from at least in or about 2009, continued for years. Combs assaulted women by, amongst other things, striking, punching, dragging, throwing objects at and kicking them. These assaults were at times witnessed by others and included one instance in L.A. hotel on or about March of 16, was captured on a video later publicly reported. Combs kicked, dragged, and threw a vase at a woman as she attempted to leave. When a member of the hotel security staff intervened, Combs attempted to bribe the staff member to ensure silence. Combs' violence was not limited to the women. It's extended to his employees, witnesses to his abuse, and others. Sean Combs used the Combs business, including certain employees, to carry out, facilitate, and cover up his abuse of and commercial intimacy. I'm trying to not use that word. The employees, including security staff, household staff, personal assistants, and high ranking supervisors, and others close association at Combs intermediaries, and their conduct was facilitated and assisted by Combs' control of the Combs business. From at least 2008 through or on about the date of filing this indictment, Sean Combs, the defendant, and others known and unknown were members of associations of criminal organization, the Combs Enterprises or Enterprise. Members of the Association of the Combs Enterprise engaged in and attempted to engage in, amongst other activities, intimate trafficking, forced labor, interstate transport for the purpose of selling of one against their will, coercion, uh, enticement to engage in selling of oneself for intimate purposes, uh, illegal medication offenses, kidnapping, arson, bribery, and obstruction of justice. I'm sorry if I'm confusing you. I'm trying to keep some of these words out of my so I don't get dinged. The Comb Enterprises, including the leadership, its members, and association, continued as an enterprise as defined by Title 18 U.S. Code, blah, 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 blah. That is a group of individuals associated, in fact, although not legally entity. The Combs enterprise consisted of, and I'm not going to list all of his aliases, the defendant, parentheses, II entities within Combs business, included but not limited to Bad Boy Entertainment Enterprises and Combs Global, individual employees by association of the Combs business, and others known and unknown. I had no idea this was this bad. I had no idea. Okay. As per Kathy Rusin, Donna waives any issues on future appeals. That's right. Regarding Charlie's cross exam. Yep. The judge is doing research. Yep. Combs Enterprising, consisting of an ongoing organization whose members function as a continuing unit for common purpose of achieving the objective of Combs Enterprise. Combs Enterprises were engaged in and its activities affiliated interstate and foreign commerce. Combs Enterprise operated Southern District, New York, and elsewhere. At all times relevant in this indictment, Sean Combs, the defendant, was the leader of the Combs Enterprises. Combs, the defendant, and others known and unknown participated in unlawful other activities relating to the conduct of Combs Enterprises. These individual Individuals included certain Comb business employees, such as members of Comb security staff, household, personal assistants, high-ranking supervisors, as well as other close associates of Combs. Purpose of Combs Enterprises. The purpose of Combs Enterprises include the following. Oh, yes, it is bad. Both this and the other. Operating a global business and media, entertainment, lifestyle industries, including, among other things, record labels, record recording studios, apparel line, adult beverages, business, marketing agency, television, and networking. Certain members of Combs enrich members and association of the enterprises, including the leader Combs, and in particular those who demonstrated loyalty to Combs and willingness to conceal his crimes, preserving and protecting and promoting and enhancing the power of Combs Enterprises, including. So basically, this guy is in deep doo-doo. I'm not going to, a lot of this is restatement of what I said. Oh, so I am not going to cover this trial. I have my personal reasons. It part of this rings too close to home. So this is not something I plan on covering, but I wanted y'all to hear what it was about. I wanted to see what it was about. I had no idea. Had no idea what all of it was about. So there we go. I'm going to have to do this, I'm sure. Let me do something. I have to sign in. It is not something that I feel that I should or could put on air. I think this is going to be too traumatic to too many people. So I'm going to politely not cover this. Oh, come on. I love that you can sign in with just your face, but sometimes it just gets so annoying. What are my grades? I'm looking for my grades right now, y'all. Okay. Not posted. Yep. All rolled into one. All rolled into one. You know, if this thing is bothering me, guys, I have to do it. I have to do it. It's bothering me. Oh. So when you do interpreting for the deaf, everything needs to be black behind you so they can actually see the contrast. And if there's any white or light stuff, it can be very distracting. So I choose to black. It's a blackout. And I understand some people are like, what are you doing? Well, I anticipate interpreting this afternoon along with my interpreter, Miss Diane. So we'll be doing that. Good morning, Miss Kristen. It is, we've had some interesting events already. We may not be going to trial right now. We may not. Do you know why? Because they have been, I'll deal with that later then. The situation is this. Donna Adelson, which we all know, her son's attorney is the same attorney that Miss Adelson has. Okay. This has been an issue that has been brought up in the past, and it has been talked about multiple occasions. However, what's happening is that now that we're going into trial, the judge wants to make sure that Miss Adelson is understanding that if this gentleman continues to represent, and if they call her son as a rebuttal or a witness of any kind and type, what is over here? The carpet. Any kind and type that she could not appeal it. She could not appeal his decision um, at all. Her decision. Let me say this. It is highly irregular to have a lawyer who defended your son defend you, especially when he lost. Why would you want him to defend you, especially when he lost? I don't get it. I don't get it. So, what's happening is that we are going to be waiting to see what the judge says. So basically, I got to do it, guys. I gotta. It feels too knotted. So the judge asked her if she had spoken to an independent attorney, and she immediately looked at her attorney and went, So the judge allowed her time to speak and have a conversation with an independent attorney without anybody present, including her current attorneys, to explain to her what the risk and all of that are concerning her. Wait, I'm looking in the mirror and I'm doing it wrong. What her risk and everything are about her um, continuing. There we go. Continuing on with these attorneys, especially the one that's represented her son, because it is highly irregular. So, what happens if she continues with this attorney that represented her son? The biggest issue is she could not appeal in the future regarding Charlie cross examination. She is waiving that right of appeal, is what's happening here. Probably got hair everywhere. She is waiving that right to the appeal. And so what's going to happen is that then she later cannot go back and say, "Oh, Your Honor, I'm appealing the decision because I didn't know that this was a right that I had." So I may not be explaining it perfectly. Hey, Campfire for Life, haven't seen you in a while. Hello, y'all. So I am going to find a video that was sent to me, and it is about enough time. It is a recap of this case. Some of us know it very well, some of us do not. I don't know if it was sent in the mod chat or where it was sent, but I'm looking at it. Oh, by the way, for those who were wondering, we still have a fire burning in Houston. Houston. Yes, the fire is still burning in Houston. Ronnie, you sent me something and you said it was a filler. Now I can't find it. I can't find it. Why can't I find it? I'm trying to find it. It's frustrating me. Let me go under mine and see if I put it there. Nope. Please do, Ronnie. This mess is ridiculous. Everyone knows that Rauschenbaum represented Charlie. Yeah, we all know that. And we all know that Rauschenbaum and Donna spoke about the Vietnam trip. He should never be able to represent. And that's the other thing. And do you know that I don't know what to do with my hair, guys. Do you know that there are a lot of people out there who, after this is over, are going to be screaming for disbarment for him? I have heard that rumor. Go ahead and send it, Ronnie, in a direct message to me, please. Oh, I found it. Woohoo! Never mind. We got it. Okay, this is a shared Vinnie Politan uh, live that he did. I am going to share it. I hope he doesn't get mad. If he does, ask for forgiveness. I ask for forgiveness. I will give you credit. I give credit. I give credit. Here we go. Into the wild blue yonder.
A big trial is about to take off down in Tallahassee, Florida, Leon County. It's actually the fourth in a series involving the murder of FSU law professor Dan Markel. It's the case against the evil ex-mother-in-law, Donna Adelson. This is the Tangent Podcast. I'm Wendi Adelson. Who are you? Who are you? Who are you?
Who am I?
Who are you?
I am who am. That was what was written in the Bible, but didn't refer to me. This is Albert H. Wunsch III, okay, coming at you live.
Who's
All
the
right.
man on the bottom?
And it says Albert H. Wunsch III on the bottom. So I am confirming that that is me. If you want, I will show you my license. But nonetheless, looking forward to a wonderful show today and with my good friends, okay, Vinny, and I'm going to pass it over to my buddy Jonesy.
I am Jonesy, the last of the radio Mohicans, the last of the radio cowboys, the last radio outlaw.
And this is the Tangent Podcast.
It's Vinny and the Tangent, true crime podcast. Vinny has the blue eyes, Al cracks the jokes. Jonesy stays behind his shades, entertaining all the folks. It's Vinny and the Tangent.
Everybody, hands up.
Load up all your comments, hit those super chats. Let's go smash that like button so we can all have a blast.
Ronnie, are you sure I can share this?
Jonesy on the job. They're the Sugar Hill Gang of true crime. They're telling stories of days gone by. They take crime and turn into a good old time. It's Vinny and the Tangent, true crime podcast.
Great to have you here, folks.
Tangent, true crime podcast.
This is the Tangent Podcast. It's Friday, and there's Baby Jonesy and Baby Vinny.
There go the baby shots.
Oh, and Baby Al.
Wow.
That's the reunion, 90s reunion tour.
All right. Great to have everyone aboard on this Friday. Wow. Here we go. The Tangent Podcast. We got a lot to get to in the program today, Al. I mean, a lot.
There's a lot, but Vin, I got to say something right now. Today is Friday the 13th.
Ooh.
Okay, Friday the 13th, for all of you triskaidekaphobiacs. Okay,
I love that word.
Thank you. Who fear eating Triscuits, then you know that today is the Friday the 13th. And today in history, Vin and Jonesy, on September 13th, 1971, an event occurred, which was the storming of Attica Prison.
Attica.
And so
Wow.
what had happened, okay, on September 9th, there was a riot that broke out at the prison. They grabbed guards and they had 40 hostages. During the initial incident, 3 inmates were subsequently killed and 1 correction officer was killed. They had the individuals, okay, being protected by the Black Muslims in the prison. They were protecting the hostages during the negotiation process. The negotiations failed, and then it was read to them that they were going to assault the prison if they didn't release the hostages on this day, Friday the 13th. It was authorized by the governor at the time, Nelson Rockefeller of New York, and they stormed the prison, shooting indiscriminately. As a result, 29 inmates were killed, 10 hostages were killed and 90 people were wounded. The tragedy out of all of this was that there was a false report after the incident that 10 hostages had been executed by the prisoners. And as a result of that, when they retook the prison, they savagely beat all of the inmates in the prison in retribution. The real tragedy is the fact that those 10 hostages were killed by police fire. So they were actually friendly fire that killed them in the ensuing taking over of the prison. The case ended up having a number of individuals that were indicted with regards to what had happened. When Hugh Carey became governor in 1974, he pardoned most of the people on it, and a civil suit that was put down for the type of activities that went on was settled in the year 2000 for $12 million to the prisoners and the families of the prisoners that were beaten and or killed during the riot. The riot started because of the fact that there was an overcrowding in there. The Black Muslims were not allowed to have any type of religious services whatsoever. It was a majority of the prisoners were Black, and all of the guards, with the exception of one who was Hispanic, were white. And there was a lot of racial tension that went on, and it all started because of a fight that had occurred on September 8th, where those two individuals were treated and mishandled by the corrections officers, and then the riot ensued.
Wow.
So that happened on this day in 1971. But Friday the 13th, and I just want to mention something else, Vinny.
Wait, Sheldon has a question.
Okay, yes.
Is there a movie on this?
There's a great
there's a documentary on it. There's a documentary that was recently done on HBO about this situation, and it was excellent. I would really recommend watching it. I mean, it was a complete mishandling by Governor Rockefeller, who was faulted for not coming to the scene. They thought that would have made things a little bit easier, but he refused to show up on that.
What's interesting is it's referenced in a couple other movies.
Yes.
Dog Day
Afternoon.
And Saturday Night Fever, when John Travolta comes out in his underwear.
Right.
And
Right.
grandmother's there, and he's going, Attica, Attica, Attica.
Now, you know why he did that? You know why? Because he said, the one girl said, I just got kissed by Al Pacino.
Al Pacino.
And he had
So he was
Pacino's
doing that as
poster.
an homage to Al Pacino, who
He had Al Pacino's poster on his wall, and he was also in his underwear.
Yeah, and in his tighty whities, and also had a poster of Bruce Lee.
Yes,
that's right, and Farrah Fawcett.
Oh, and Farrah Fawcett. That's like the poster of posters, right?
Yep, that's exactly right. That
was,
really is.
That was the
place.
So if I could just throw out a couple of other things.
Trying to make a point.
But let me just throw out a couple other things with regards to the same. Okay. This week we saw the anniversary of September 11th, and I just ask that everybody always remember that, and to always keep the thoughts of the thousands of people who died subsequent to that horrendous attack on the United States. Interestingly enough, the 29 people that were killed and the 10 hostages, so 39 people that were murdered as a result of retaking over Attica, was one of the biggest assaults on American people since the Civil War. And then, of course, now we come up with September 11th. Friday the 13th is also a great movie, which was filmed in New Jersey. Okay, that movie was filmed at Camp Novi Bosco, up near Blairstown, New Jersey, and that camp is still there. And they have, and I'm going to shout out to the organization that gives tours and has the cast, surviving members of the cast, come and talk about the movie. You can see the original sets, and then they cap it off by watching the movie by what was called, Crystal Lake, which is not really called Crystal Lake, but you see the whole thing from there. So if you're interested, take a look at the Friday the 13th website for visiting the park. and
Mention the tangents, you get 10% off.
and you mentioned the tangents, and you get 10% off.
On September 11th, I lived at 192 East 3rd Street, apartment 3A, New York City, New York, USA. Probably like maybe a mile as the crow flies from the scene. And it was, for lack of a better word, it was one of the most surrealistic days I've ever spent in my life. We wandered the streets aimlessly. Let me tell you, man, we walked a couple of blocks, and the avenues, the streets were filled with thousands of people with soot on their faces, which no doubt contained body parts, wandering the streets, not knowing what was going on because they had no access to internet or anything like that. They were crowded around vans, delivery vans, listening to news radio to try to figure out what happened. It was absolutely incredible. We were in lockdown. We lost all communication.
On that day, I was at the North Bergen Municipal Court, which is almost directly across from the World Trade Center. And I had worked 3 years in the World Trade Center, in one World Trade Center. So it was particularly distressing to me to see from the vantage point that I was at, and then also the fact that they had closed all the roadways back up to where my office was.
Yes.
And luckily, because I represent police officers, I was able to move up through. But I was in a, just a horrendous situation, watching officers of the Port Authority who I knew going over in these buses through the Holland Tunnel to respond to the scene. I lost several really good friends, and I lost several very, very good clients of mine that were police officers in North Bergen. I should be police officers in the Port Authority, the George Washington Bridge. And I saw both towers go down, and it was just something I'll never forget. I watch the documentaries every year on it, and even if they're repeats, I watch them, and just it was surreal is the word. That's what it was like. And then living here, okay, and Jonesy can attest to that, we didn't know what was going to happen. You were seeing fighter jets flying up and down the Hudson River. You were seeing, the bridge was closed. Everything stopped, okay? And then really the first thing that New York did to try to get the city back and moving forward was the concert for New York, which happened at Madison Square Garden, where it was just one of the most incredible.
Did Casey perform?
I'm sorry?
Did Casey and the Sunshine Band perform?
No, Casey and the Sunshine Band did not perform,
No.
but Jay-Z did.
Jay-Z.
That's when I the story about me and talking to Beyonce, and I could have been Mr. Beyonce.
David
And
Bowie, Mick and Keith, Roger and Townsend.
right. The Who.
Okay. Sally, change. It's Saturday the 14th here in Melbourne, Australia. Please change the subject. It's too sad. Let's get to something. Well, it's not that we're blowing it off, but I'm going to stop that tangent.
Okay.
I think we and there's a discussion here. People all remember. They never forget, and that's I think the most important part. But let's talk about these folks, if you don't mind. These folks right here.
I'm easy.
Not those guys. These guys right here. Okay, here's the story, folks. The man in the middle is Dan Markel. Brilliant, by the way, brilliant law professor, Florida State University, Harvard Law graduate, the 1% of the 1% in terms of how bright he was. He was also an incredible father, and he was very religious. He was Jewish. Now, the people he's sandwiched by here, according to prosecutors, are the ones who orchestrated the for hire hit on him.
Aren't Jewish sandwiches known for being like gigantic? I mean, you have to have like takeout.
But at a Jewish deli, a sloppy Joe is different than other sloppy Joes. So when people say sloppy Joes, a lot of them think of the meat and that, like the red and it's running, all that. But at a Jewish deli, sloppy Joe, completely different. It's more coleslaw based.
Yes, Short Hills, New Jersey.
Yep, absolutely. So on the right side of the screen is Charlie Adelson. He was a dentist. He was also a bit of a playboy, had the convertible red sports car, single guy, hung out in all the clubs down in South Florida. And at one point, got involved with a shot girl named Katie McBanoa. Katie McBanoa had a relationship with a man who was best friends with a Latin king.
What's a shot girl?
Shot girl.
It's a shot girl. How dare you ask that question?
No.
You're Jersey Shore. You've never seen a shot girl walking around like giving you shots. They wear a like the Frito Bandito ammunition thing around their chest, and then
Well,
they take.
I was a professional drunk. I never partook in that kind of thing.
Yeah. So
Are you ready,
she was,
Diane?
like worked in the bars and stuff, but she had children with a long time on again off again boyfriend, Sigfredo, who was best friends with Luis, who was a Latin king, and Dan was married to Charlie's sister, Wendi Adelson. Now, the person on the left side of the screen is Wendy's mother. That's Donna Adelson. So that would have been Dan's mother-in-law. Well, what happened was Wendi and Dan had two small children, and the marriage wasn't working. And they separated. They divorced, but there was an ongoing custody issue because Dan was at FSU. And Donna and Charlie and the rest of the Adelson clan were living in South Florida. So South Florida to Tallahassee, about 400 miles. So you can't have a shared custody arrangement there because it takes, you either have to fly or it takes, 8 hours or however many hours it takes to drive from point A to point B. So they were in Tallahassee, and the big issue for Wendi and her family was trying to get the kids moved to South Florida because Wendi wanted to get out of Tallahassee. But Dan was thinking about it, but he didn't have a job there. He was like a law professor at FSU, very prestigious. And so there was an ongoing custody battle pertaining to this issue. Well, the custody battle ended when Dan was taken out on his driveway. Two strangers in a rented, was it a Prius? I don't know. It may have been a Prius. It was some little Toyota car that you wouldn't expect someone who was going to
They had Priuses back then?
It was 2014 when this happened. So I'm trying to remember the type of car, but it was a small little car. And it was Luis and Sigfredo. So investigators were able to track them down through some video. They also had eyewitness testimony about the type of car. They tracked and figured out the cell phones, burner phones. They tracked it down, and they arrested Luis Rivera first. And he was charged. He flipped against Sigfredo and Katie. Now, Katie was connected to both Sigfredo and to Charlie because she was sleeping with both of them at the same time. And what prosecutors believe is that Charlie, through Katie, got Katie.
Different kind of a sandwich.
Yeah, that's a different kind of sandwich. But the story is that Charlie convinced Katie, or had Katie sort of broker the deal with the two hitmen to take out his ex-brother-in-law so the kids could move to South Florida. He's been convicted of doing that. Now they're going after Donna, the mother-in-law, and her role in all of this. So it's, I look at it as like an evil stepmother kind of thing. But they are just like the gang that can't shoot straight. I mean, such amateurs with all the mistakes that they made along the way. But what was interesting is when they arrested Donna, she was at the airport, had a one-way ticket to Vietnam.
No extradition.
Exactly. And so this trial is getting ready to start. There were a trial for Sigfredo, a trial for Katie, a trial for Charlie. All three of them have been convicted. So now it's the fourth defendant who is, facing.
So when this is over, they can finally make the Lifetime movie.
I'm shocked the movie hasn't been made already on this one. The story
hasn't been told entirely yet, I guess.
Yeah. That's absolutely part of it, right? Because you don't want to make a movie until you know the ending.
Oh, you need her. Yeah.
You need her. And the question is, does it end with her? Because you've got her husband, Harvey.
Harvey. Her
And
husband, Harvey.
Harvey was the quiet one.
It's a wonderful name.
And there is also, of course, Wendi. Like Wendi, who is Dan's ex. Like she has been used as a witness against Sigfredo, against Katie, and against her own brother. Because when she came in to be interrogated, not interrogated, but when she was questioned about the death, they were saying, would anyone do anything? And she says, well, my brother used to joke around that it would be easier to just hire a hitman. And like she basically, gave evidence that her brother had been talking about or joking about hiring a hitman, but that's exactly what happened here. So I don't know. I can't figure out her role in all of this as well, but it's a completely strange situation. And I think Wendi has now moved away from South Florida to Texas, and there might be a little breakup of the Adelson family, that Wendi may not be as close to her family as she was, or she is moved out of Florida because they have a new law that would provide rights to Dan's parents to see their grandchildren. How about that? Texas doesn't have the law.
Yep.
There
You
have
ready,
it, folks.
Diane?
That's the story.
It's pretty
I'm
convoluted.
40, and then I have to be off for work.
And in this case, you don't have any direct evidence linking Donna to the crime. And
I'll pick
that's
up when you
where
leave.
this trial is going to go on forever, because the prosecution is going to have to start with a puzzle and the totality of the circumstances, and it's all circumstantial evidence. So they've got to paint the mosaic that will, give her the old heave-ho is guilty. So it's not an easy case to do. The one thing that they have that is really like kind of the pocket ace is the fact that she was trying to get on a plane and get the hell out of Dodge, okay, because that is the consciousness of guilt charge that you get in a criminal proceeding for someone who takes off or is attempting to take
I
off.
think I know what their argument's going to be on that, and you tell me if you think it would be convincing, is that they're the victims. Ladies and gentlemen, this is, I think, what her attorney will say. By the way, her attorney is the same exact attorney who Charlie had.
Right, except with one exception.
What do you mean? What's the one exception?
They brought in a local for the first time, which was a smart move. They've got a local attorney that's working with them. So they've kind of decided that they needed to get a local flair, because I guess the other one was convicted in 3 hours? Okay, so
it didn't take long. It didn't take long.
So maybe what they're hoping is that by getting a guy who's from the area and that has done trials in the area and has experience in Florida, that it was going to be a little better situation for them. So they wised up in that respect, and they brought in that guy. But you're right, it is the same attorney who already lost the case.
He's 0-1 on this case. He knows it inside out. He's a great attorney, but the facts are what they are. So I think his argument will be that, ladies and gentlemen, Donna Adelson, she knew they were coming after her. She saw what they did to her son, who was wrongfully prosecuted. And I think that's what they're going to do, is say, they're the victims of this prosecution, and they've been, going after him for years, and they're just zeroing in, and she knew what would happen. She saw what happened at Charlie's trial, and she just panicked because they've got her on a recording talking about going to Vietnam because they don't have extradition. She called Charlie, right? So she calls Charlie in a jailhouse call. It's being recorded. Charlie drops out of the call. She starts speaking with the people in the room with her about Vietnam. Can you be extradited from Vietnam? And she's like, I'd ask my daughter Wendi, but she might turn us in. It's insane. It's insane. But they got that on recording, so I think they'll be able to use that.
They're definitely gonna be able to use that, but what your excuse for her is gonna require is her to take the stand. Because they're not getting that in any other way.
Yeah.
I mean, he can say anything he wants. Well, he can say anything he wants, but you know what ends up happening. Ladies and gentlemen, what these attorneys have said to you in their opening statements or their closing statements is not evidence. Okay, they can do what they want to do. They can say what they want to say, but you have to rely on the evidence. So the only way you're getting in that I was taking off, Am's grave because I was afraid I was going to be, unduly persecuted, which I have been, and I've been sitting in a jail since and the whole 9 yards. But that, is the only way they're going to get that in, Vinny, is she's got to take the stand. And I don't know if they want, this case has got too many issues that may, warrant her not taking the stand. Because I think there's some questions that may,
Here's the problem. And here's why I don't understand why you have the same lawyer. The best defense for Donna at this point is to basically point the finger at Charlie.
Well, see, that's the other problem. You're right on that. There is a blanket conflict of interest here, because if Charlie, for instance, decides that, look, they're giving me a deal, I can get a couple of years off on this, or I can do this, I can do that, get some sort of a break on this, and testifies against his mother, then his prior attorney is going to be required to cross-examine him. And that is a problem.
That can't happen. The conflict is so obvious. Is it possible, and this is a conspiracy theory, Al, but is it possible that allowing him to do it, and they put on the record all the things you have to put on the record to waive the thing, but if she gets convicted, doesn't it become the first issue on appeal by another lawyer, by an appellate lawyer, say, and say obvious conflict? She didn't present her best defense because she had the same lawyer as the guy she should have pointed the finger at. Like,
you're not playing for the appeal. I mean, you lay the groundwork.
You're not playing for it, but like, is that like your backup? Like, you're going to go with your A argument that they probably did the same thing, same argument they did during Charlie's trial, right? Yeah. Does a lawyer? Let me ask you this, Al, because this is an ethical question.
Oh, all right.
And I'll get an opinion from Jonesy what he thinks should be the ethics of this.
All right, well, let Jonesy go first.
Okay, let Jonesy go first. Okay, here we go. So, Jonesy, what if the lawyer who made arguments on behalf of Charlie, right, saying that they were being shaken down, comes up with a completely different argument of what really happened in this case while representing Donna? So the same attorney makes inconsistent arguments in front in a courtroom.
Huge. That is
the same
huge.
The same victim, same case, just a different trial. Would you have an ethical problem with an attorney, a defense attorney, saying in Charlie's case, X, Y, and Z happened, that they were shaken down, but in Donna's case, something completely different?
I would have an ethical problem on it on both sides. The original trial, for him to take on this and make a different argument, that trial's over, but nonetheless, like you're tainting all of that as well. And wouldn't you be able to bring into evidence, well, you said this in this other related trial? I mean, couldn't you, I don't know that you can question a lawyer unless they're stupid enough to step onto the stand, like we've seen recently with, one of the prosecutors in a recent case. But shouldn't you be able to point out, like you said something completely different in court on a related situation?
Al, what are the ethics of this? Like, can a defense attorney speak out of both sides of his mouth or her mouth?
Yeah, Vinny, I don't necessarily see it speaking out of both sides of the mouth, because facts change. Okay.
No. In fact, nothing's changed. This happened 10 years ago, dude.
And you know what? So new information comes in, and what you have to take a look at it as opposed to who you're representing at the time. Okay, so that under those circumstances, I don't think there's any problem with that per se. I do think there's a problem. I think it's ridiculous that she would keep the same lawyer. I don't know why she would do that.
Okay.
Especially because of the fact that it was a
Maybe they got a discount, a 2-for-1 discount.
Well,
A BOGO, buy one, get one.
yeah, that's the BOGO may be the right thing on that, but the you get what you pay for, unfortunately. I think that there is a real ethical dilemma on representing someone where you could be potential. And see, the thing is this, folks, just so you understand this, all right? It's not necessarily the conflict, okay? Because what you look at is that you see that there could be a conflict. Because now what happens in the middle of trial, as I said before, Charlie gets up there and says, she did it. She was the mastermind of this. She's the one that did all this kind of stuff. He can't cross-examine his former client.
Right.
And that's what does the judge do at that point? Demand, like, that's basically
it's an automatic mistrial, I think.
It's an automatic mistrial. Absolutely.
Her best defense is to say the guy who got convicted of orchestrating this is the one who orchestrated it. I didn't know what was going on. And,
exactly right.
At a minimum, they could argue that she found out after the fact and she was just mortified.
See, because the conflict is the appearance of impropriety. It's not necessarily the impropriety.
Right.
And that's the whole thing. To me, I don't understand how the judge is even allowing this. I would say I'd put my foot down as the judge and say, absolutely not.
Thank you, Ronnie.
Charlie becomes a potential witness in the case, that just negates your ability to be the attorney on this case. Simple as that.
Yeah. Okay. So here's another thing, right? So this litigation for the custody became very personal. Let me tell you what this ex-mother-in-law was going to do. Let me give you the backstory. So how did Wendi meet Dan? Wendi and her mother, her overbearing mother, Donna, were on J-Date. Now, for those of you not familiar with J-Date, that's a place where Jewish people can meet each other. It's called J-Date. It's like I think it's like
social media thing.
Social media.
Yeah, it's a dating
site. It's a dating site, dating app. So they find Dan, and Donna says, "You should date him." And they were specifically looking for someone who was Jewish, right? And you know, he's smart, he's a law professor, all of that sort of stuff. And that's how they met. They met on J-Date because Donna picked out Dan for her daughter. Flash forward to when this breakup is happening, to give you an idea of how vindictive Donna was. She wanted to pay off Dan to allow Wendi and the kids to come to South Florida to just buy off his fatherhood. Dan was having no part of it. That's obnoxious. But then what she's now trying to needle Dan. One of the complaints that they had about Dan is that he was too Jewish. He was too Jewish. So this is what they were doing. They were when the grandkids would come down, she would start feeding them like milk and meat together, breaking all the kosher rules.
That's right.
She talked about converting the kids and having them baptized as Christians just to stick it to Dan. That's how evil this ex-mother-in-law. I mean, Dan was chosen by Wendi on J-Date, because he's smart, good-looking, all of that sort of stuff, and he's Jewish. Yet, when it's time to go to battle, she wants to convert her grandchildren just to stick it to Dan because he's just too Jewish.
It is remarkable the pettiness people can feel, and then using the kids as pawns in this, this little dance of death is just horrible, absolutely horrible. The woman is evil. There's no doubt in my mind. There's no doubt in my mind she orchestrated this. The question is going to be whether or not the prosecution can prove it, and it's really going to come down to who testifies. Because I said before, there is no direct evidence against her. There's no real smoking gun. Okay.
And here's the thing: like with Charlie, Katie McManawa, who ended up testifying for the state after she was convicted, she was making the direct connection with Charlie, but she never really had direct connection with Donna. The closest we have is that Donna The family had a dental practice, and Donna was like the bookkeeper. I write the checks. And apparently they put Katie on the payroll of the dental office.
Right.
But she's a shot girl. She's not like a, who are the people that clean your teeth?
Hygienist.
She's not a hygienist.
Okay,
She's
my
not
bad.
A dental assistant. She's not a dentist. She's not
Gargle
stupid. She's not stupid. She's smart. She's educated, all that. But
I have to pause. I made a big wrong. When I was interpreting shot girl, I was thinking alcohol shot girl. And that's one thing that's important for people who interpret. Sometimes we make mistakes because it's the first connection to the content. And sometimes we get it wrong. So I'm going to back up and clarify. Shot girl, meaning at a dental office, not the other word, is the person who gives the injections. My bad. I can't hear you. Say it. You mute yourself and I can't unmute you.
You clarify and I will wait.
I'm done. We're going to
Okay,
get going
she's
again.
finished.
I just thought I had to clarify it because that was a big wrong. Big wrong. Sorry.
she was basically working as a shot girl. Like,
No.
come on. And she's on the family payroll. So that's the closest that they can get to a real direct connection. And then they're going to rely upon the text messages, the emails back and forth among the family where they're speaking in code about the paella. That was the secret code word they used, Jonesy, was paella, because Harvey was having a 70th birthday and they had to get him a gift. And his gift was the paella. And they would have all these intimate conversations about the paella. Crazy.
Well, I've said to you before that, in the old days when like you were in high school or college or whatever, and you were trying to score marijuana back when it was illegal or whatever the case is, everybody would speak in code as though, like, do you have those cassettes? Do you have those mixed tapes that I was looking for? And I used to laugh at that even back then because, once you start speaking in code, if they're looking at it, they know what you're talking about. So, take your paella and do whatever it is you do with a paella. What the hell is a paella anyway?
All right. I want to open something up to you guys and to the audience here because we're talking about a mother-in-law. And what always stuck in my mind growing up about mother-in-laws, and it was like every sitcom, every show that had the character, he had this mother-in-law that he just, they were like oil and water all the time. So I'm wondering from your memories, when you think of one of those classic mother-in-law, son-in-law TV sitcom relationships, who comes to mind?
Well, you remember there was a TV show called The In-Laws, which was a very funny show. Kay Ballard.
Wasn't that called Mother-in-Law?
No, it's called The In-Laws. I think it was called The In-Laws. But I mean,
because The In-Laws was an art movie.
I need help.
But I think the name of the TV show.
Okay,
Maybe it was
whatever it is.
Mother-in-Law. I mean, I know Kay Ballard was in it, and I believe what's her name, the woman that played the school teacher in Greece was in it also. Escapes me right now. But I just remember, I worked the Borscht Belt in comedy with some of the great comedians of all time. And the mother-in-law jokes were always just at the top, at the apex of all of their mothers-in-law was the name of the show. You're right on that. But the jokes that they would do about Jewish mothers and Jewish mother-in-laws was just classic jokes. Oh, wait.
Sorry.
And so you just showed me at Rascals when I was hosting. Okay, so the mother-in-law jokes were always fast and furious, and were always big numbers. Now I was not able to use those jokes because I'm not Jewish, and so I was and a lot of the jokes are interesting because they use Yiddish and incorporate Yiddish into the jokes, and it just makes them even funnier.
You can do a non-Jewish version of the mother-in-law scenario, which is like, throughout history, that's like a standard comedic thing.
Well,
Yeah,
Jewish wives,
Damn it,
Jewish
get out.
mothers, and Jewish mother-in-laws were the three areas that the comedians that I worked with, Buddy Hackett, Soupy Sales,
Shecky?
Free. I never worked with Shecky Green. I worked with
King of the Catskills.
This was the Catskills. This is all I did. John Biner,
John Binder was hysterical.
Norm Crosby, Charlie Callis. Charlie was not Jewish either, so the two of us were the House Goyim, we were called. So I mean, there was some great.
The cat knocked the backdrop over. We're back. Thank you.
It was a mother-in-law joke, if I remember correctly. Okay,
Here's the classic. Everyone loves Raymond.
Well, she's not Jewish.
Not Jewish, but a mother-in-law. I'm just talking about mother-in-laws. It doesn't have to be Jewish. This is not that type of program.
I think of the Honeymooners myself.
Oh yeah. Blabbermouth.
Was there a mother-in-law in the
Oh yeah,
Honeymooners?
Alice's mother.
Alice's mother.
Yeah, she came to visit, and when Ralph found the money that turned out to be counterfeit, he was she would come over there and she was like buttering up to him, and he was giving her money to go away and this, that, the other thing, and she was like, "Sonny boy," and then like she'd leave and he goes, "She's not, the old crow ain't so bad after all," he would say about her.
How about Mrs. McGillicuddy and Mickey from Normie Von Ormy? Mrs. McGillicuddy. What show is that? It sounds so familiar.
Well, McGillicuddy was an Isle of Lucy name. That was her maiden name, I believe, the character.
That's right.
But I don't know what this I don't know what this refers to with Mickey.
Mickey.
You want to hear my Jewish wife joke or my Jewish mother-in-law joke? These are not mine. I will. But one of my favorite jokes was by Dick Capri with regards to a Jewish wife. So Myra and Murray are lying in bed. Myra is tossing and turning. Murray is sound asleep. She looks over. She sees him sound asleep. She hits him in the arm. He wakes up. He goes, "What's wrong?" She goes, "I got to tell you something. You make love like a schmuck. You raise this family like a schmuck, and you run your business like a schmuck. As far as I'm concerned, you're the world's second biggest schmuck." And he looks at her and he says, "Well, wait a minute. If I make love like a schmuck, if I raise the family like a schmuck, if I run my business like a schmuck, how come I'm only the second biggest schmuck in the world?" And she looks at him and she goes, "Because you're a schmuck."
How about Tony's mom on The Sopranos?
See, Tony's mom though was just a bad mom.
Mom.
She transcended the mother-in-law thing.
Yeah, that's because she wasn't bad to Camilla. If you remember, she was only bad to her kids, and
true. That is true.
So she wasn't bad to Camilla. She wasn't bad to the grandchildren. She was only bad to Tony and Tony's sister.
So on
Hello,
Max, I guess
Dr.
also is the new documentary
Vonda K.
of David Chase, the story behind The Sopranos. So the mother from The Sopranos is actually his mother.
Wow.
That's David Chase's mother.
Wow. That kind of makes sense when you think about
Nancy Marcon, the actress, or just that was
No, the character is
Okay.
based on David Chase's own mother. I mean, it's a great little documentary. You don't have to just be a Sopranos fan,
So
but
yeah, so he's channeling, his art from his history, not unlike The Sopranos with what's his name there, Larry David, which seems pretty common to channel your own history into your characters. So it kind of makes sense to me. But
Absolutely.
Johnny Carson's mom was notorious as far as never, he was always very insecure and such because she just never gave him the respect that he deserved. He was never good enough. The networks watched, they interviewed her when Carson took off as the host of the Tonight Show. And she basically, I'm paraphrasing, gave it more or less quite frankly, I don't know what the fuss is all about as far as his performance on TV. And that was a part of what built Carson into the giant that he was, that kind of background. I mean, a lot of times people have that background and they take it and they make something wonderful out of it.
Yeah. Daddy's on a roll right now. You're an anti-dentite. Do you know what that's from?
Yes, that's from Seinfeld. A rabid anti-dentite. So next thing you're going to say, they're going to have their own schools. Well, they do have their own schools.
All right. Yeah. All right. Here's a great question from every 26 seconds. Does anyone think Harvey was in on this? This is interesting because Donna has a lot of communication with Charlie all along. They're back and forth. Charlie speaks to his mother like every son should, like 3 times a day, 4 times a day, but during this time, even more. Harvey is the one who's making a lot of money, built the family dental practice. He's quieter. He's a little more reserved. But at one point, Charlie and Harvey are talking about the investigation before any of them are arrested or charged inside of a restaurant after the bump. Now, the bump is the case was sort of dormant. So the FBI puts an undercover on the street to bump into Donna and then pretends to be a relative of Luis, the first hitman who was arrested, who was in custody already, and pretended to be his brother. And in speaking sort of cagily, tries to infer that they need to do something to make right, trying to sort of extort some money from Donna because of the hit, because they have information. He hands her a copy of the article and a phone number to call, and an article referencing what happened to Dan in Tallahassee when he was taken out on the driveway. So they do this bump. It's recorded. It's videotaped. Donna is a little startled at first, has this conversation, but then never calls police. Never calls police to say, hey, this guy came up to me, But what happens afterwards is exactly what the FBI wanted to happen. There's chatter and there's meetings. And one of those there's phone calls between Donna and Charlie, but there's also Charlie and his father meeting at, it's a restaurant. It's kind of noisy, and they have undercover video and audio of that, which you can sort of make out. And I think based on that, a lot of people are thinking Harvey's potentially in on this as well. I think the case against him, though, might be a little more difficult because he's not doing the direct communication with anyone. It's really Donna and Charlie.
And I agree with that analysis.
Katie. So I wonder if you can get Harvey in all of this.
Well, the only thing you get on him is that, did you ever take a look at your payroll and did you see why they were paying this person that wasn't working at the, at your practice? I mean, he's got to sign his tax returns. He's got to, send in all of his business stuff. And you would have a duty to take a look and see, wait a minute, why is it? I mean, it's like in, Trading Places, the $50,000 check that was written to the guy that was going to give the information about the crop, reports.
Was it the orange crop report?
That's right. Meeks. The guy's name was Meeks. Yeah. So it was, like you would have a duty to take a look at and see, what you're doing and who you're paying. I think that as the owner of the company, there would be a requirement of that. So, I mean, certainly I think that there is some implied guilt. But if there was going to be a more difficult prosecution than Donna, it would definitely be Harvey.
Now, the thing about Harvey is that the code word, according to prosecutors, was the surprise birthday gift for Harvey. So the whole thing is like, it's like on this crash course with Harvey's 70th birthday. So the paella that they had at his birthday party,
Which is not kosher. Which is not kosher, by
which
the
is
way.
not kosher, shellfish, right?
That's right.
Bottom feeders. Oh, by the way, let's give a womp for Adam Drives Helen. Great to see. I wonder, Jonesy, I wonder, because Helen is the truck that he drives. I wonder if he ever listened to your trucking show on Sirius.
Quite possibly.
Sorry.
It's been quite some time, but I used to do an overnight talk show for truckers called Jonesy's All Night Truck Stop. And it was basically billed as the world's largest CB radio, where the long distance trucker would speak to another long distance trucker. And I essentially would be the moderator or the in-between guy. But if you did, Adam, let us know.
I had a CB radio.
I never had one, but I got on one once when I was a kid, and we lived near 15W, so you got a lot of truckers out there. And I did like a female voice, and used the handle Sexy Sally. And
that was you?
And the key immediately I was pounced upon, by like numerous truckers, who wanted to talk to Sexy
I'm going to take that sound bite out of context, by the way.
Yeah,
I know.
I don't think you have to take it out of context. I'm scared as it was just said. But
well, they keyed in basically and said, "Come on."
I was KAIJ 7385 lumberjack coming at you. Okay, that was
Okay, guys, they're not talking so much about the case, so we're gonna go ahead and take a little break on that one. They're getting off into things that just aren't important to our case. So, Miss Diane, do you want to say hello and how are you?
Well, hello, everybody. Let me calm this wild hair down. You think I've been in a windstorm. Anyways, it feels like it's been forever since I have been here. And that is simply because I have been having to clean out my storage. Because lovely people, they increased my storage rate from 152 to 212. I gotta get out of there this month. I need to sign when I'm talking. I forget. Anyway, but it feels like it has been forever since I've been on. So anyway,
okay. We all have life
with that. Yes, I have life. But after this week, God willing and fingers crossed, my storage place will be empty. My house will look like somebody picked it up and shook it full of Legos that fell apart, but I can live with that. So anyway.
Thank you, beloved. I don't want the cat in here. I scared the living. My cat knocked down my backdrop, and I kicked her out of here in a not very happy state. I was not very nice. I'm all like,
You not nice. You're always nice. David, now I need you to move here a bit. Oh, you're okay. Having to move over. I've got
what, Mary? Oh, yes, you can give her a treat.
I have been. Am I out of the center of my screen?
That's for the dog, not the cat. Okay.
Okay.
Well, this trial has so many twists and turns. Oh my gosh. And I look white as a ghost today.
Well, honey.
You look great. You look great. It's me. This is my natural color. Normally. Hi, toxic orchid.
Hi, toxic. You say that, and it reminds me of my mom because she could grow the most stunning orchids. I mean, she had a hothouse. Oh, no, hers were beautiful. Now, my ex-sister-in-law killed all my mothers, and let's say she was not a happy mother-in-law. She was not happy at all because she probably had $10,000 in orchids.
Whoa, that's a lot
Yeah,
of orchids.
she did. She probably had 100, 200, and they were beautiful. But you know.
Wow. Well, let's catch up. I'm going to mute you for a second. I got you. Um, if you mute you, then I can't unmute you when you're signing. So today we're talking about the judge is actually I got to get this off the screen. It's distracting. Trying to decide whether or not to permit one of Donna Adelson's attorneys to continue to represent her because he represented her son. And that is technically a conflict of interest. And what can happen is um, she will have to waive the right on anything that attorney does in connection with the son, if it's cross-examination, if he gets on the stand, for example, she can't use that in an appellate issue. The other thing is that this is really a mess because Rosh, Rashbaum, Rashbaum represented Charlie, the son, and he also was the one speaking to Donna Adelson on the phone about her options to fly out of country to Vietnam. Why? Because Vietnam is a no extradition country. They do not have an extradition agreement with the United States. And that right there was a huge trigger for everything that's going on right now. A lot of people are, there's a lot of conversations. There's more evidence than just that. But the lawyer knew she was fleeing. The lawyer had information. The lawyer was in on conversations about this, as my understanding. So the judge basically, he asked everybody to be back at 1. The jury will be back at 2. I don't know if they've selected an entire jury yet. I think they have, but y'all will have to update me if I'm wrong. So this case has already got 3 people convicted. You've got her son. You've got another woman. Oh, I forgot her name. And then you've got the guy who did the ending of life, I believe. So right now we have 3 people in prison. And Donna, if convicted, will be the 4th. Some people are wondering if her husband, Harvey, I think is his name, will be convicted. So we do not have a jury yet. Dr. Bullbutter. Okay, so the jury selection will continue this afternoon. So Rashbaum is representing both the son and the mother. And the mother is adamant that he continues to do so. Yes, toxic orchid, that is a breach of interest to be representing 2 defendants in separate trials. However, the defendant can waive their right and choose to continue. The judge is going to have to decide on this. He's doing some research and he's going to have to make a decision. This could pause trial today. We may not be moving forward right now. It'll be interesting because who knows? The judge is the final say on whether or not this happens. Donna will have to hire another attorney when it comes to cross-examining her son. But yes, I was getting ready to get into that, Dr. Bullbutter. But here's the kicker. Her son has not waived his rights. The other woman charged name is Katie, and she is the wife, if I'm not mistaken, to the brother, and the judge is upset. This is true, Bull Butter. Thank you guys so much. Um, the situation, I mean, if her son does not agree, he is the primary client, if I'm not mistaken, because he was hired and retained first. He is not waived his rights for this. So the judge has got to figure it out. And I can guarantee the judge is not happy in the least. I think what I'll do, if y'all are okay, I know some of you have seen this and some of you have not. I'm going to hop back. Katie's a girl. I'm going to go ahead and replay this. Yes, ma'am.
Can you give me a synopsis of what happened and why we have a trial? I know nothing. It helps.
Okay. Apparently, the mom, who is Donna, has a son,
Charlie.
Charlie, and his girlfriend is Katie. The daughter is, oh gosh, y'all help me with names, was married to a Jewish dentist. And they were getting a divorce, and there was a custody battle between the ex son in law and the daughter, or soon to be ex, and the daughter. I don't know. Wendi, thank you. I don't know a lot about this case either. So Wendi was going to take the child and move about 400 miles away. And they're all Jewish. You're right. But Wendi and the victim found each other on a Jewish dating website.
Got
The
that.
short, yeah, the short end of the stick is, well, that's a good idea. I'm you're right, Miss Veronica. Where is it? Where did you post it? Adelson. I was
And
not ready.
how do you spell butter bomb, butter balls,
Bull
butter?
better. Bull
Yeah,
Bullbutter. I'm looking for the chart, my love. Um,
bull better. And the other one is Rosh. Rosh.
oh, I
Rash.
already.
Rosh.
I don't.
Is that lawyer's or that person's name? Rosh somebody.
That's not what I'm looking for.
Oh, I
I'm
know.
looking for the chart. Give me a second. I'm going to mute you. I am looking for the chart. Thank you so much. But where is the chart? State witness list, update witness warrant. Grand jury. I don't see the chart, my love. Where did you put it? Ronnie, you DM'd me. Oh, okay. I'm looking in the wrong place. Bye, love. Hey, are you going by the house?
Yeah, for a little bit. I gotta take him to wound care in a little while, so
Okay.
I figured I'd run by there for a little bit, and I told Matt what I didn't get done today, I'd do tomorrow.
Okay.
Do the shop tomorrow too.
Sounds good. Ronnie, the last DM I have from you is a Google Doc for P Daddy. Forgive me, y'all. I was not expecting to go live today. I was expecting to go tomorrow. So I was going to get all of this together then. Ronnie, just go ahead and resend it because I'm not finding it. It's not where I need it. It's not your fault. It is my fault. I have not been able to pull all my documents and everything. But long story short, while we're pulling that, I'm trying to find that, is the mother and the brother are accused of hiring a hitman to take out the soon to be or the ex son in law to keep, uh, just to get the custody situation resolved. Yep. That's kind of it. I'm looking. Ronnie, it is so not your fault. There it is. Thank you. The who's. Okay, we got it. I have a fabulous mod, y'all. Her name is Ronnie. She is my research boss. And I just want to give a shout out to her. She is so amazing. And she did a flow chart for me. I'm a visual person. I have dyslexia. It's not fun. If you give me names listed, it's hard to keep up. So she does extra work and goes the extra mile and gives me a flow chart. So here we go. Dan Markel, the victim. I will. Okay. Dan Markel is the victim. Wendi Adelson is the daughter of Donna Adelson. Actually, it's Adelson. Or is it Adelson? I don't know. She married Dan Markel. Charlie is the son of Donna. Charlie's ex-girlfriend is Catherine, the middleman and connection, okay, to the murder. Sigfredo, Sigfredo, is the trigger man. Louis Rivera, called a Latin king, is a getaway driver. I've downloaded it. I'm going to forward it if I can. Okay. So all of this to say, this is a whodunit. The thing is we know who done it. We just don't know if they are going to, what's the word I'm looking for? We don't know how much responsibility of this they're going to put on Donna. This will be a very interesting trial. All three of the other people have been found guilty. I just sent it to you, Diane. Okay, so now I can put that away and get back to this. Okay. So the other person, why is it not staying open? Thank you. The other person in this scenario is the father and husband, Harvey Adelson. He seems to be, like they said, the quiet one in the group. We don't know a whole lot about him. He doesn't seem to, they did not arrest him. He's not accused of anything at this time. So, yeah, y'all. Did you get it, my love? I sent it to your,
This sounds like it would be a really, really good dinner murder mystery. You know,
it
go to
would
a
be.
restaurant.
You've got the Mafia King, Latin Kings. Guys, you want to talk about serious, the Latin Kings? Oh, man, that's a serious connection. That's a big, serious connection.
What did you send it to me on?
Instant Messenger, my dear.
Okay, I'm looking. Ada.
I'm gonna mute you. You can call in. You can call in. Let me give you my number and you may call in. I would love for you to call in. Let me pop open, but give me a second. I have to get my burner phone connected. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I need to go behind. Oh, there's that. Where did I put that connector? Oh, yay. There's the connector. It's going into my phone. Now, love, I need you, if you call me, I'll get you connected, okay? I've got to turn on number 2. That is on. Okay. If you'd like to call, I'd love to have you. You would be a welcomed guest because honestly, When I started my channel, I wanted to come into all the trials like an alternate juror without a whole lot of information. And can you type the area code only in chat so I know it's you? And you'll have to give me a second to connect you. But okay, we're going to go there. I'm going to have to put it on speaker phone when it rings. The number is running at the bottom of my screen right now. And Dr. Bullbutter, if you'll just leave me your, okay, thank you. The number is 830-510-3408. Nobody else call that number, please. If you have a problem, I'll find a way to call you. I haven't had a guest on the phone in a while, so we'll see how we get it working. Why is it crooked? It shouldn't be. So, did you get the number? While we're doing that, I might as well do what I need to be doing. We have a new sponsor, Ollie Tea Company. I do not have their ad made, but they are fabulous. They are handcrafted artisan olive leaf tea and herbal tea blends. This is them. They are fabulous. I will be getting them up and running. But in the meantime, let's bless the people who have blessed me with the Java that I drink every day. In the meantime, I'm going to wait for Dr. Bullbutter's call. Hey, y'all, please help me welcome the Hitchman Homestead Coffee. They are fabulous. They have many different blends of freshly roasted, freshly ground coffee. They have a monthly club where you get 4 bags for $40 or a Keurig option. Also, they just came out with a half and half. Oh my gosh, I absolutely love it. So do me a favor. Go down to the link below at hitchmanhomestead.com. Order you some coffee and show them some love.
Call
Hello.
from Dr. Bullbutter. To accept, press 1. To send a voicemail, press 2.
Well, hello.
Hey, Ada, how you doing?
Hey. How are you? Y'all, how is the sound? Y'all let me know how the sound is.
It's good for me.
Okay, yay. So the floor is yours because, like I said, I started approaching this channel as an alternate juror. And so I purposefully haven't dived into a lot of the information. And this one kind of came up on the radar in the middle of a lot of stuff. So please give us all the scoop. The floor is yours.
I have listened to everything I can possibly listen to on this case. The only thing I haven't done is read the book that Ruth Markel has written.
Oh, there's a book?
Who is Dan Markel's mother. Yeah, Ruth Markel, she wrote a book about her experience going through the justice system, trying to get justice for her son, Dan. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Okay, so this is the deal. Wendi and Dan met on JDate, which is a platform for Jewish people to meet each other. So you have to remember that, okay?
Yep.
So they meet each other on JDate, okay? And what's interesting is Dan Markel is very serious about his Judaism, and he keeps kosher. But at the wedding, Wendi and her mother plan the wedding, and they decide somehow that they do not serve kosher food at the wedding reception. So Dan and his friends and the rabbi, etc., can't eat at the wedding reception. So that's how this marriage starts, with that kind of lack of respect. So that's how this begins. So you have to understand that. They nickname Dan Markel Gibbers because they say he gibbers on and on and on. So they nickname him that. You'll hear that in the emails back and forth between Donna, Wendi. You'll hear him referred to as Gibbers because she insults him in that way. She calls him Gibbers. So anyway, when Wendi and Dan are married, Dan works for FSU, Florida State University in Tallahassee, Florida, which is more north than Miami, where Donna and Harvey live. Okay. Miami is the southernmost other than the Keys. So, and they have a dental practice down there. Harvey is a dentist. And Charlie is or was now, but he is a dentist at that time. So, but Dan Markel is a professor of law at Florida State University in Tallahassee. So Wendy's with him in Tallahassee, and her family can't stand that because she's not with them in Miami or closer with them because, I don't know, they're a mess. Donna wants control and she wants Wendi with her. And she wants the grandkids with her. So, when Wendi decides that she's going to get a divorce, she waits till Dan is on a business trip. And he's away. And she leaves. And she leaves the papers for the divorce on the bed and leaves very few things in the house. She takes not only the kids, but most everything that is like the kids' clothes and the kids' toys and everything, and just leaves with everything while he's on a business trip.
Cold-hearted witch.
And when she's on the phone with him, says, "Yeah, I want a divorce." He flies home very quickly, and everything's already gone, and the papers are on the bed. And she's already gone. It's a very contentious divorce. And he says, "Heck no, you're not going to take my boys." He was a very good father by all accounts. He loved his boys. He spent a lot of time with his boys. It was very important to him. As I said before, his faith was very important to him. Being a father was very important to him, and he wasn't just going to say, "Of course you can go." So he fought. He fought for those boys. So there's accounts where Donna is just saying, we have seen emails from Donna. We've seen this because of the trial for Charlie. We've seen emails that are just going back and forth where Donna wants to deal with all of this. And so what ends up happening is Charlie's going out with Katie McBanois. Now, Katie McBanois, the reason that this becomes important is because Katie McBanois's ex, and sometimes current, her baby's father is a member of the Latin Kings.
What? What? I'm looking at this. Catherine.
Yeah.
Baby daddy.
Yeah, you said that better than me. I'm kind of a dork, guys. You have to understand. I'm not really cool.
No, but you're telling me baby daddy is the Latin king.
Yeah.
And
or associated. I don't. Did we say allegedly?
One thing about these groups, and this I know personal experience. No, I was not in one, but I have personal knowledge. You're either in or out. You're not just associated. You're in or you're out.
Sigfredo Garcia, you said his name earlier.
Right.
That's the baby daddy. Now, you said earlier he's already in prison. The reason this was such a terrible idea is because now Katie McBanois is in prison and the baby daddy is in prison. So what's going to happen to her kids? Like, duh.
Yeah, thanks, Ronnie.
Anyway,
I'll pull the chart up.
So Donna, basically, from what I can gather, and guys, this is what I've been able to gather from listening and putting together and everything. From what I've been able to understand from watching the trials and everything else, my understanding is Donna basically said to Charlie, like, you have to help us, like, figure this out. We have to get free of Dan. Like, help us figure this out. We have to deal with this. Do you know of anybody that can help us take care of this? And he was dating, and I use the term rather loosely. He was dating Katie McBanois, and he knew that she had been with Sigfredo Garcia, who was part of the Latin Kings, so that, and I guess the Latin Kings don't have problems taking lives. So he says to Katie on the down low, can you help us? So she becomes the go-between of the crime. What ends up happening is Donna Adelson is the person who cuts the checks at the dental practice and handles that kind of thing of the dental practice, because Harvey is a dentist, don't forget, and so is Charlie. And Donna decides to handle and does, I guess, for all intents and purposes, handle the financial end of things for the family business. So she's cutting the checks for a lot of that. So they decide to put Katie McBanois on the payroll, like she works there, but she doesn't.
How stupid can you be?
And they get her a car of some kind, and they pay a
Keep
large
talking, I'll be
amount of
back.
cash. What?
Keep talking, I'll be right back.
Okay. And they pay her a large amount of cash and I don't remember the amount, but she ends up boasting that it pays for a boob job. So that's a brilliant thing that I could live my whole life without knowing. Breast cancer survivor here, I could live without knowing that somebody paid for their boob job with money from unaliving someone. Yeah, I could live my whole life without knowing that. That was brilliant. Yeah, that bothers me a whole lot. So anyway, they pay her in that way. She gets Sigfredo Garcia and the other guy's name I can't think of in this moment. I'm sure somebody's putting in the chat, but since I'm on my phone on the phone call, I can't see it in this moment. I'm sure someone knows. Someone please provide that in the chat. I'm sure that's happening as we speak. But they drive up from Miami to Tallahassee in a rented car to get to Dan Markel and put lead in him to end his life. And they think that they'll be able to do that without tracing it back to Charlie. I don't know how, because I think it's supremely stupid, but yeah, it doesn't make any sense to me. But then again, ending someone's life doesn't particularly make any sense to me either. So I'm the wrong person to ever ask about such things. But anyway, they make they do like a trial run, and for some reason it doesn't work on this particular run, so they end up having to do it again. They do it again, and you can see that Dan Markel goes to his gym, and you can see the car waiting outside his gym for him and whatever. And they end up, they end up putting lead in him in his own garage. Yeah. They end up ending his life in his own garage. It's terrible. And he dies a day later or 2 days later. But what's really quite unbelievable about the whole thing is that when Wendi is questioned, it's silly because they say to her, "Can you think of anybody that might want to hurt him?" And she names her brother within, I don't know, 15 seconds.
Wow.
You can watch the video. You can watch the questioning. You can put it on your channel right now. It's the interrogation video of Wendi. It's quite interesting. I've watched it multiple times. I can't even believe it. It's the most insane thing, because on the day of the shooting, Ada, you won't believe it. You would lose your head if you even you won't believe it. First of all, you're not going to believe this. They have a code for the, it's so funny. Apparently, they had a dad joke that was the version of, you know, I was gonna unalive your ex-husband for you, but I got you this TV instead. And that was supposed to be the family joke.
Are you kidding me?
Charlie said that joke. That was the family joke. Who in the hairy heck? I'm being very good about what I was gonna say.
Appreciate it.
Who in the whole world is gonna say to a cop in an interview on the day of the event that this is the joke? And who, when you're asked if anyone has anything against your ex, who is going to name your brother? Who? I don't even care if you're thinking it. I certainly wouldn't say it. Ever.
Wow.
I he just hands that up like I don't even know. I would have said no one. I don't know a single person that has anything against him. Nothing. We had a contentious divorce. I know it's very contentious, but I can't imagine a single person that would ever want to actually physically hurt him. I can't imagine. He's the father of my children, first of all. Second of all, on the day of the event, he drove or tried to drive past her old house, which is his current house where the event occurred. He tried to drive past the house. Now, she had no business being there. Why would she try to drive past the house? It's very suspicious. She said she was trying to buy liquor for a Stop the Bar party for her friend.
Wow.
She had to buy Bullet bourbon. And she pronounces it wrong because she doesn't want to say the word bullet. It's actually called Bullet Bourbon. The name of it.
It's lead bourbon?
Yeah, basically, it's lead bourbon. So she goes out of her way to go past her old house in order to go to a liquor store she doesn't have to go to. She could have gone to one near her house, but she doesn't. And the whole reason why is because she wants to see if the job has been done. Meanwhile, she learns that this has happened, right? And her immediate reaction is not, I don't use the word human being, oh my goodness, where are my kids? Where are my kids? Where are my kids there? Where are my kids there? Are my kids alive? Where are my kids? Where are my kids?
Hold on. We are coming back to court. I would love to have you come back live again. You were awesome. So I hate to cut you off, but the court's
It's
coming
totally
back.
fine.
Do you have it up?
It's
Can
totally
you see
fine.
it?
I will put it up now when I hang up with you.
All right, love. Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye, Ada.
That was so nice of for her to do that. I appreciate it. What do you think of the new bottom banner? Yes, come back and finish the story. So depending on what happens here, we'll have you right back. So don't get rid of that number. Save that number, my dear, because you're welcome to come back anytime. Oh, you're not a dork. All right, bull butter dork, doctor. Are you really a doctor? What do y'all think of the bottom banner where it says Donna Adelson trial? That is the Vietnam, one of their flags, with an airplane and handcuffs flying in the wind because she didn't make the plane to Vietnam. She got busted. It happens. Yeah. The saying goes, poop happens. We have rainbow poop here.
That's what unicorns do. Stars and sparkles and rainbow poop.
Do me a favor, Diane. Your sound is hot.
My sound is hot. Okay.
How
Let
is
me
her
see if I
sound to
can.
you guys? My hearing aids are not a good a monitor. Is she good or is she too loud?
Is my sound hot or not enough for
Oh, it's enough.
perfect? For you? Is that
Sounds
better?
good. Okay. Then
I
it's
turned
me.
it down.
That's
I turned
better.
it down. Remember, I have to do something at 1:40 and I'll be close. I'll be close to you so I can see.
Nope. You're good. That sounds better. It's just what I mean. It's not just hot. It's very sharp. But you have one of those kind of voices that I love.
Oh, people tell me that. Oh, well.
Well,
this is life.
there's very few voices that I can get pitches out of, and yours is one.
Yeah. And Margie can't. She can't hear me. Never.
Yeah. Well, and I got to rephrase that. It's not that I can hear you as much because I've got captioning, but I can feel it on my eardrum when you start to talk because the vibration is a sharp vibration. Hi, baby girl. Yes, you may lay there. So, people have really been giving me a hard time about how can you hear? Well, I can't.
She has wonderful, wonderful hearing aids that help her and allow her to have an idea of what is happening. But see, people get confused because you're deaf, but you speak so well. Well, she wasn't born deaf and she learned to talk. And just because when a person becomes deaf later, it's called latent deaf, they don't lose their ability to speak unless there's been a TBI, which is a traumatic brain injury that has affected the Warnke-Braca area of the brain. And that's where speech comes from. That's why when people have a stroke, and they can't speak, that's because that has been affected. But she hasn't had that. And so she remembers how to talk. And so she speaks better than most hearing people. Her diction is great. She's easy to understand. And so people go, I don't believe you. You're not deaf. And it's like, you don't understand. If she doesn't have hearing aids on, and she's coming through a door and you're on the other side of that door and you have something hot, no matter how loud you yell, somebody's gonna get burnt because she will not hear you because she's deaf.
Y'all, I have roomed with her and I have been in this bed next to her, sound asleep, and all hell, so to speak, broke loose in the middle of the night. Did I budge?
Nope. I had to go. Okay, okay, wake up. We got fire alarms. We had to go outside in the middle of the night.
No, and the other thing is I have an app that I practice speaking with. It's like having to go to a speech therapist.
Mhm.
And I had a friend who's deceased now. She was Mama E number 2. I have a Mama Elizabeth, and I had an Emmy Lou. Emmy Lou has passed. Was a speech pathologist, and so I work at my speaking a lot, and people don't understand how I can sing. I don't sing well with others because I can't hear them. But I remember I was a professional singer, and I was also a singer with Sweet Adelines, and I have the ability to sing, but I just can't hear myself. So what I've
I
done
understand
is
that.
if I know the song, I can sit and I have an app that if I know that this note is an A, I can try to sing it until I get in that. And then it's body memory. People don't realize all of this is body memory. All of it is body memory.
Oh, yeah. It's like if you can't remember a phone number, especially when we had rotary phones,
Oh,
all you
God,
had to do
yes.
is
I
pick
remember
it
that.
up. Yeah. Okay, we're
I
back.
remember doing that. We're back. And I'm cut off. That's okay. I'll back up. So I'm reading everything and I'm watching her.
I'm almost scared to speak. Does anyone have anything to raise before we continue forward?
Yes, Judge. May I approach the lectern?
You may.
Approach the bench.
So Judge, with the surprise issues of the last couple of days, I have asked for my prior client's waiver again. And with the change of circumstances, he has decided not to give it. So let me be clear, I have a waiver in the past. It's from December 12th, December 13th, and an independent lawyer spoke to him as well.
He's
although he
revoking.
did not get a signature on the waiver. So we had a waiver. We thought we had a waiver. We didn't think there was an issue. But given the events of the last 2 days, I approached appellate counsel to get a new waiver. Thought that was the right thing to do, obviously, and the cleanest thing to do. And I am not able to obtain that waiver at this point. So as a result, I need to withdraw from the case.
Very well. Does the state wish to be heard concerning the withdrawal of counsel?
I don't think I have anything appropriate to say on the matter, Judge. Your Honor, that's
Well
what
put.
you need to do. We would like to proceed.
What did she
and I'd
say?
ask Your Honor to inquire whether we can proceed.
I'll go back.
Chair.
Waiver at this point.
Can you
So as
not
a
hear,
result,
Dave?
I need to withdraw from the case.
Very well. Does the state wish to be heard concerning the withdrawal of counsel?
I don't think I have anything appropriate to say on the matter, Judge. Your Honor, that's
Well
what you
put.
need to do. We would like to proceed, and I'd ask Your Honor to inquire whether we can proceed with second chair representing Ms. Adelson, but obviously we're ready for trial and there's a lot at stake.
Mr. Morris, are you prepared to move through this trial without Mr. Rauschbaum?
Judge, I did enough. I tried to think about all of the different potential rabbit trails, and the short answer is I do not believe that I am going to be able to be adequately prepared to proceed forward with the present calendar.
I knew that was coming.
Primarily because of the division of labor in the case. I would move to continue for a brief period of time. That's also, in speaking with Mr. Ufferman, which is an issue that I'm going to request that we address, the objection by Mr. Adelson would still pertain to my cross-examination, and by extension, the third party would conduct cross-examination. In short, I need time to regroup.
Before we finish today, I will have the in-camera hearing review concerning whether you have been properly walled off. As to the withdrawal of lead counsel, I am going to permit it. The conflict issues are so severe, I believe, to move forward with the trial. Ms. Kappelman, Ms. Dugan would place us in a position where we would end up in a reversal. Let's go ahead and set a case management date. As to all the expense that has been undertaken with moving witnesses and preparing for trial, the state certainly, as a part of any cost prosecution, if you are successful, may seek those costs as it relates to today, as this continuance will be charged to the defendant. As to a new date, when would the parties like to have a case management?
I think as soon as possible, Judge. I'm prepared to brainstorm with Ms. Kappelman and Ms. Dugan with the state to be able to get a trial date if we wanted to do that. But I don't know if we need additional time. But
Ms. Dugan advises she has a court date October 15th, so that would be my suggestion.
10:15 at 2:30 will be the follow-up case management to today. Before we go into recess, I am going to conduct the in-camera hearing with Mr. Morris as to any remaining issue of who should conduct the cross-examination of Charles Adelson if called as a witness. If the court reporter can meet me in the jury room, Mr. Morris, please as well.
Wow, I saw that coming. Whoa. I got it, Ronnie. Already on the calendar. And I am canceling her trial. Her trial has now been deleted. We have nothing on the books until Boone. Y'all. I love my new calendar. I can do all this while I'm live. Okay, this is huge. So the gentleman sitting next to her left is probably the new attorney to the team. To lose your lead attorney. Now, that was a risk she took. She took that risk. But the first person who gets priority to her lead attorney is her son because he was his attorney first. So I know, right? I was so ready for this week. I can go get my car cleaned. Go get my nails done. Yep. Everybody can get all their chores done. I can't unmute you, darling, because you muted yourself. Quit muting yourself. He is the third party attorney.
I said you could come to my house and help with storage.
No, thank you. I've got enough to do.
Well,
I got my house to clean.
Well,
So let's give a quick schedule. I guess we'll follow the trial I started yesterday. Boone has a hearing on the 24th and the 26th. They have and then Sarah Boone's trial. Y'all who don't know, this is how I do Sarah Boone. Sarah Boone. because she's a hot siren. Sarah Boone's trial is scheduled to start on the 7th. I have blocked it off for 3.5 weeks, going through, well, pretty much through the 1st of November. So, yep, that's an interesting. And then, of course, the Lori Schaefer trial, boy, that finished quicker than I thought. Yeah, I think so. Don't get me lying. Don't get me a lying. Well, we'll pick a trial. No, gosh, what did I do yesterday? By the way, for those of you who want to know, the explosion in Houston, Texas is still burning, but it has greatly decreased. So we'll pick a trial. We may have to play catch up.
What's the sign for Houston?
Houston.
What's the sign for
Houston.
Dallas? Can't see. Dallas.
Like the cowboy breath of brim, Dallas. That's why when you went this earlier, I went, that Dallas, honey.
No. There's many names for that sign. Yes.
So with all of that, we're going to finish this, of course. But once this is finished today, we're going to sign off because I got to get some stuff done. I am going for a day trip. Yes, I know. I can't wait for that. I will watch that. I may ask her if we can share her live and interpret that live. I need to know when she does it, though, before she does it. I'll email her. I don't have her contact other than an email.
I don't understand why this woman is crying if she is the mastermind. Did she not think she would get caught?
I think she has some kind of personal connection. I think that she's ready for this to be over with, and she is so ready to get on with this trial. And then that means we're probably going to have another month or so delay, at least.
How long has it been going on?
Years.
I mean,
I don't know. All right, Dr. Bullbutter, if you're still here, or anybody, how long has she been in jail? She's been in jail for some time.
Woo. No,
Well, see, here's the thing. There's emotional buildup to today. And then you get yourself psychologically prepared for what you're going to be going through for the next few weeks. And then when it's cut off and it's changed, like this, or even last minute, you have an emotional drop as well. You do. And she's very connected to that attorney. And I think part of it is because he's connected to her son.
Oh, yeah.
And she can get information. She can talk to. Oh, I recognize that cup. Show them. It's got sign language on it.
Yes, yes. Yes, it does. Right there.
Yeah, it's connection.
Yep.
So anyway, guys, I understand her emotional disappointment in losing her attorney. She's probably very upset with her son for doing what he's did. And the son is taking care of himself first.
Well, yes.
And that's what he should do. And on top of that, I don't think it's fair at all for her to try to use his attorney. And there's a lot of money she's given that attorney. And that's going to hurt because now they've got to hire somebody else.
Yeah, and the costs do not go down. They just increase.
She should not. Well, yes. Now, had the son said that was fine with him, that would have been, but it's not.
You want to see something pretty?
Well, you're looking at it.
I know. But isn't that pretty?
Oh, I love it.
Wait,
y'all. What I'm going to do today is I'm going to go get my car washed, and then I'm going to come back. I got to get it cleaned because I've got a day trip. Possibly, I may be late overnight Friday. Well, I don't care. There's no trial. Oh, how cute. We are, I have to go out of town with my mom on Thursday. We have an evening meeting at about 3.5 3 hour drive maybe away. Uh okay, so Dan was unalived in 2014. She was arrested after her son was found guilty, correct? I think you said that, yeah. Donna was arrested on 11/13 of 23. So we're coming up on a year of her being in jail. Somebody asked what's the difference between jail and prison. Jail is where you stay before trial, and if you get a year or less of a conviction, you can stay in a jail. But after conviction, you go to prison.
And
If you have more than a year, and depending on the jail, depending on the crowd, and depending on the county, you can stay in a jail if you get a year or less. Sometimes, depending on the area, maybe 2. I don't know.
and it depends
Prison is after.
because the sign is the same, but it's here. Jail, prison.
Prison. Mm-hmm.
So it's here.
Yep. So,
we're back.
Yep. Oh, hello. What it is? Katie was arrested on 10/1.
Court has concluded its in-camera hearing with formal counsel and remaining counsel, Mr. Morris. Mrs. Adelson, depending if you choose to hire additional counsel or just reset the trial date, you'll certainly be able to work with Mr. Morris as your attorney in making that decision. But the trial is going to be continued from today. The jurors will be released this afternoon. Again, as to the inconvenience and delay that this has caused, I'm not happy, but at the same time, we're trying to get this right so we do not have to do it a second time. I will speak with the parties again when we have the next case management hearing. We are in recess.
He is EO'd.
Yeah, or have they reported yet? I can go down and release them again, but
Oh, he is so not happy. He is containing himself. And that's all she wrote. Wow. Wow. Okay. So Sigfrido was convicted on 10/11/19. Charlie was convicted on 4/21 of 22 and sentenced on 11/6/23. Okay. I'll just throw that up.
Okay.
So
can you send to me where I'm to read the teams we were talking about for the other?
I've already sent you invites.
Okay,
I'll send them again.
Them. Where do I see them at? Because I've not seen any.
Okay, let me get off of this and we'll take care of that.
Well, I've only got like 5 minutes.
Yep. Okay, go to instant messaging. I sent everything to there, but ignore it. I'll resend it.
All right.
Ignore it. I'll resend it. Right. Okay. Let me say goodbye to everybody. I'll be right back. Okay, guys. Dr. Bullbutter, thank you so much for joining. Really appreciate everybody watching. This has been Reset. Sorry, guys. My thing is falling off. Oh, there it goes. I apologize, guys, so much for that, but this week has been opened up. I will decide what to do later. But for now, I'm going to say goodbye because I got to go get my car washed. And I didn't think I was going to get it done today. But once again, thank you, everybody, for watching. Thank you, Diane, for interpreting. And thank you, Dr. Bullbutter. Please, you're welcome to come back on and chatting with us and updating us on the scoop. We'll probably have you come back and do a review. Until I see you next time, whatever that is, have a good day. Be blessed. Bye.